Hello everyone and welcome back to SGTV. On today's episode I am joined by Josh and Mark from Mark Winter Electrical, and we actually found Josh basically blowing up on social media, and we thought it'd be great to get him and his dad in the studio and talk about the father-son working relationship and how good and bad that might be. So it'd be good to get some different points of view on this. So we'll start with you, Josh. What's it like having your dad as your boss?
Every day is a different day, but we get on a lot better than other people think, and I know there's a lot worse bosses out there. I can't deny that. There's definitely a good working relationship, I would say. We have our off days though, but no, I'd say it's quite good.
Has he scripted this to make you say it like there's a pay rise or a pay decrease in this answer?
My best.
You're not getting any more money, so.
You can be honest now, he's just said that.
No, it's horrible. No, it is really good though. Like, I've made mistakes before and he's like, not let it slide as such, but he's been a good boss and showed me the right way how to do things. We get a few nice early finishes, so I get paid for the full day, so I can't really complain.
Is he your first boss you've ever had?
Yeah, I went straight from school, straight to him. And it's been good ever since I left school.
Yeah.
No really bad days, have we? It's just been...
It's been challenging at times and indifferent, but yeah, he's... I think I've just noticed that the last year, the term that when the penny drops, it's definitely been a pound that's dropped with him. It's taken a while, but he's getting there now. But yeah, I've had employees before, and every employee is different. But yeah, he's worth his salt now.
Yeah.
He's coming good.
Yeah.
Took a few years, but I'm finally getting there, just chipping away.
Is it difficult though, sort of almost having that boundary between father and son and working relationship on site?
Can be, yeah. I think it can be a bit of positive and negative. Yeah, there's times where you can almost get a bit comfortable, because it's like a family kind of thing. But then on the other hand, it's a family business now, and you'd like to think that, he understands that, and it's, he grasps that and how important it is. It's our name above the door kind of thing. But yeah, there's pros and cons, like I suppose in every job. But I would definitely say there's more pros than cons.
Yeah. What's some of the cons you'd say? Having to ground him if he's...
In the early days...
I did get a bit comfortable, didn't I?
Timekeeping on the morning.
Yeah.
I'd say, Josh, we need to leave at 7:45 or whatever, we need to be on site for 8 o'clock. And he'd literally roll downstairs at 1 minute to 8. I'd say, no, we've got travel time, we've got to get there. Punctuality's important. Then, we're going early in the morning, get in a little bit early at night instead of going down the street, messing about till 10, 11 o'clock. But yeah, that's just, I suppose, just nitpicking kind of thing. But yeah, it can be easy to bollock him, but it can also be harder, with it being, if it was a staff issue, there are not a number at the end of the day, but it's different when it's family.
Yeah, you can cut to the chase, can't you? Yeah. Whereas you haven't got to go home to it and get death stared.
Comfortable. It is a good term that way. Like, you can get comfortable. You don't want to be too relaxed, do you?
No, definitely not. But
we're there to do a job at the end of the day.
Do you find it difficult, Mark, sort of maintaining that level? Because you're there trying to teach him, obviously. Do you find it difficult to do that without having to sort of go into dad mode and be like, clip around the ear?
Not so much that, but he always, and I do feel as though sometimes I'm wiping his backside. He's always saying like, I just constantly with him. Yes, he's my kid, but I've had quite a few apprentices over my years, and it is definitely different. I feel as though I'm mollycoddling him more. It's not a case of trust, because I do trust him now and he's good, but I just feel as though I'm explaining myself all the time when I should just let the reins off and let him get on.
Yeah, it's that fine line, isn't it? And the safety at the end of the day. It's not like you're just sort of leaving something that no one can hurt themselves on. You're
it's electrics, isn't it?
Electrics there, so it is that, right? You do need to let them figure out the mistakes and find their way, but at the same time, you've got to be on top.
Yeah, it's going out that comfort zone as well. But I always say, are you wiping my bottom? Always. He'll go through some stuff that I've done loads and loads and loads, and I'll go, you're wiping my bottom here.
It's a learning curve for both of you then, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Any drama, any fights on site, any, I don't want this for dinner, or?
Not too.
No. You do get a little bit stroppy. He's got quite a, what's the word? It's like, I don't know, Josh has got quite a high attention to, I do as well. I like to think I pride myself in my work, and it's passed it on to Josh, and he has got a good attention to detail. But he gets frustrated, if something, life's not simple. Day-to-day life isn't simple. Working life's not simple. And if something doesn't go according to plan or like it should do straight away, he gets a bit frustrated, and that winds me up. I'm like, just chill, and he will spit his dummy out kind of thing, but nothing major, nothing excessive. But that's the only times I kind of clash. I'm like, whoa, calm, But we do get on well. Even though I've always said when he was younger, or my other boys were younger, I can't wait to be able to go out for a pint with my kids. And I would go out for a drink with him. I would go on holiday with him. He's like a mate. We don't really clash, really, do we?
No.
Sorry to be boring, and you expect us to say no, we're at each other's throats all the time. But
well, no, it's good, because I always hear the expression "don't work with family," and that almost stuck with me, especially. Like, I thought, could I do it? I have a great family, I love them all to bits, but could I work with them day in, day out? And I think some people probably do shy away, thinking, no, I'm not having my cousin, my brother, whoever come work with me. So, but the fact that you pair are, it's good.
It's all about your personality, isn't it, and your mentality. But we take it home as well, much to his mum and my wife's discourse. We'll be around the tea table and we're like, talking about work again. It is a big part of our life,
Yeah. Especially when we're posting on social media and everything. We're always speaking about doing something, aren't we?
So do you feel as invested into it now? Because rather than just sort of coming in, because how many years in are you now?
So officially I'm only second year, but I've been working 4 years now.
Yeah, rightly or wrongly, Josh didn't do what he should have done at school. He got told to knuckle down, and he's one of the COVID babies of exams.
Yeah, he didn't need to do exams.
He didn't actually sit at an exam. So he wasn't great behavioural-wise at school, and even his headmaster had said, look, Josh, it's assessment-wise, there's no exams. Put your head down for 3 months, behave yourself, and you'll probably get a pass. Knowing that I think the target was 2 4s for his English and maths. He didn't listen. So there was at the college, Darlington College that he goes to, he was allowed to do his level 1, which is very, very basic. He excelled in that. He was storming for that, but they wouldn't allow him to progress and go further on to level 2 unless he had the English and maths, because obviously being an electrician, there is a lot of like maths and scientific involvement in it. So he had to go and redo his English and maths, and I took him out of college. I said he can come and work with me 5 days a week, which I think brought him on practically no end.
Yeah.
It really did bring him on 5 days, working 5 days a week. So then he's gone back to college. He's working towards his English and maths, which, touch wood, you've got his
my English, and I've just done my maths test last week, so I'm just hoping on the result now. Yeah, but that has kept me from going on. Like, I would have been in my final year now, but because of my maths and English,
you live and learn though.
You do.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, experience-wise, he's probably a year ahead of the other lads at college in his same year. But yeah, you've got another year to do, haven't you, after this?
He'll smash that through then.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah, like the AM2, I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is the electrical science exam, because I don't have my maths as well. I'm not a very mathematic person, so I'm a bit worried about that. But I think I'll smash it. It's just getting your head down. That's the main thing.
Well, it sounds like you've got your head screwed on enough to understand what you need to do. So that's part of the battle. But do you think, though, now you're a few years into working with your dad, that rather than just thinking, I'm going to go work, probably don't have that sense of achievement or, what's the word, maybe... Dedication and pride in the job. But now you're a few years in, you're sort of maturing, and you're seeing that not only is it your dad's paycheck, it's your paycheck, it's your household income. You're thinking, right, I want to get stuck in on and do a good job. I want to build this because it's part of you at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, definitely. The first few years I was basically just doing it for a wage, but now I'm doing it for a future. Obviously the social media is doing well, so I'm doing that to build whatever it's going to build. It could turn into anything. Social media is like that. It's a mental game that you can get into. But you know, I'm definitely doing it. I'm enjoying it now. I'm going to work. I love what I do. I can post, and yeah, I do love going to work, and I'm dedicated to it.
What do you do about your sick days? Do you ever think, oh, you know, I'm just gonna? But you know, your dad's upstairs as well, thinking, oh no, you're not sick. He was out last night, or.
We had that well, it's not been like an often occurrence, but
no, he's very rarely sick, and I'm quite relaxed unless he drops me on it. I mean, he doesn't take many holidays. In fact, last year I kept telling him, you know, you need to take some more holidays. Save some obviously for Christmas, but you've got loads spare. So if he's ever, you know, not that he's not a big drinker anyway, but if, for instance, when I think there was England were on a couple of years ago or whatever, he went out one Sunday and obviously had a bit too much to drink. I got a text early in the hours, I don't feel very well, can I stop off? So he just took it as a day's holiday, but I can't, no, he's not being a sickly kid, you know, he's not ill. So no, that's not really an issue really.
Yeah. What would you say the best bit of advice you've had from your dad in terms of the trade?
Work hard and it'll just come to you, kind of thing. If you work hard and just get your head down, you'll live a good life.
Yeah.
Stick to it.
Stick to it. And this is what we were saying before we started filming, that there are jobs out there which might be well paid when you're young or at an entry level, and people often get tempted to drop out of apprenticeships or whatever it is that they're pursuing that's going to have a longer term career, because they'll go for these short term jobs that are just paying them there and then. And I'm just like, just look at the bigger picture, look at what you could be doing. A few years might seem like a long time on very little, but just stick with it and world's your oyster.
Definitely.
It's a good trade to be in, very good trade to be in.
What's the most challenging part of being an apprentice for your dad, would you say? And then I'd like to flip that and say to you, Mark, what's the most challenging part of having your son as an apprentice?
I think challenging, like I said previously, that everybody's different, and Josh got diagnosed quite an early age, probably 7 or 8 year old, as having ADHD. I know it's quite a popular thing nowadays, but he was quickly diagnosed. It was obvious that there was something not, you know, quite right, and he was medicated. He was on medication, which he came off that himself, you know, as he was in a teenager. But as I've learned, I can't bombard him. I can't bombard him with tasks where I would say to you, right, I would give you 10 tasks, go and do that. Josh can only process, I would say, 2 or 3, and that's, as me as an employer and a teacher, it's been quite like a learning curve. Whereas the other lads, my previous apprentices, you would just give them a task to do, X, Y, and Z on, and they'd just rattle it off. Josh, I think part of the ADHD, he can't process so much information, so I've had to then rein back and then reevaluate how I'm teaching him. You know, I'll give him a couple of little things, then come back to me, you know, or whatever. But yeah, it's not really challenging.
They say, don't they, there's no such thing as a bad student, it's a bad teacher. So
yeah, true.
what might work, an instruction that might work for other employees might not necessarily work for you. So it's learning how to communicate to all kinds of different people. All people's brains all work differently, and how you send and receive information. And
absolutely.
I suppose Josh is lucky to have you doing that, whereas if you'd have gone on site and you'd had someone who may not be so understanding
and not understand me,
not understand how to talk to you, it might be like
and some guys will they'll feel as though that apprentice is a bit of a burden. You know, if you go to a big site, they'll just send him in a corner and clean up and whatever. But yeah, it's you've got to invest in them. You know, but like I said again previously, like everyone learns at a different rate, and eventually they get there. And Josh he's getting there. The penny's definitely dropped.
Touching on ADHD though, I don't know a lot about it or anything like that, but they say that for classrooms it's difficult to sit there and just solely focus on one thing. But I have heard people saying you put people in a practical environment where they're completing physical tasks, it works so much better for them. Would that be the case?
It's like some people call it like a superpower. Like when I do things, I get addicted to it, and I'm like addicted to work. I'm addicted to social media. I'm getting really good at it. But in a classroom, it is hard. It's difficult to concentrate and stuff.
I think it is hard in general, and they do say this isn't sexist, I do say there's a lot of data saying towards boys, to men, that it is harder for boys to sit and focus solely on one thing. But you give us a practical task, like you say, you get so focused into it, and
you enjoy
a sense of achievement doing that kind of thing. So it's difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, I mean, I struggle to focus. Classroom environment's not for me. But I saw in the news a bit, there's been a massive shortage of apprentices in like engineering backgrounds, electrical, and you might not, same as the maths and English, I understand there is mathematics and scientific principles and whatever in electrical and plumbing, but I don't think they should be so regimented and be both black and white about, the qualifications at school. You could, just because you're not a scholar academically, you could be a genius practically.
Exactly. Yeah.
We could be missing out on so many good tradesmen just because they haven't got that grade stipulation 4 of maths and English. But yeah, it's ADHD is funny. It
can help you, but it can be bad as well.
Yeah, people shouldn't see it as a as a negative, like you say. Just because you may not be good at academic classroom stuff doesn't mean you're any less intelligent or capable. And like you say, some of the electricians I've spoken to on the show absolutely blow my mind away of some of the things they can work out. I'm just like, you're like Einstein to me. I'm there, doing the basics. I don't understand what they're doing. It's amazing. But let's flip it on its head then, Josh. What would be some of the challenges you find working, having your dad as your boss?
The only challenge is really, I think I make myself a bit too comfortable at times.
Yeah.
Like at the start of my apprenticeship anyways, I was just too comfortable. Like timekeeping, that was one of the main things. I was getting out of bed last minute and stuff like that. Whereas now, I wake up, have breakfast and stuff like that, and I'm ready for work, whereas before I wasn't. But I think that was just a comfort thing. But no, there's nothing too challenging, I don't find anyways. Like, he's a good teacher and he understands how I learn and stuff. So
do you ever teach each other anything? Have you found some of the ways your dad has shown you benefit you, or have you showed your dad like new little tricks or hacks or things like that?
There was something recently as well, and I can't remember what it was.
Not the spotlight thing that you came out of.
I can't remember what it was.
No, there's a few things that I show you, and
I don't give him the credit though. It's embarrassing. I'm like, no, you're not teaching this old dog new tricks. I can't think what it was, but there was something, and I was like, oh, that's quite clever.
It's all from TikTok and social media. I see these things he didn't see, and I'm like, I'll show him them.
I can't think. It'll come to us.
Yeah. What path did you go down, Mark, into getting into becoming an electrician? Was your dad, did he bring you into it? Or?
No, I retrained as an electrician later in life. I left my dad, we worked in a local quarry, in a sandstone quarry, and he worked on one of these big saws, it was a metre wide blade cutting the stone, and I was a stonemason. I trained to be a stonemason as soon as I left school. I had, I think, 8, 9, 10 years, got to my mid-20s and realised that there was a lot of health factors around it. There was a thing called silicosis, which is, there's little particles in the sandstone which attacks your lung.
Yeah.
And it's, although they say that it won't kill you, it brings on other lung-related disease which can, be fatal. And I just looked at it and I thought, at 23 or 24, whatever it was, I'm going to have another 40 odd years in this. And I thought, it's not going to be good. So yeah, I retrained. I actually went to be a plumber, went to my local college, and they refused me on the course because I needed like full-time work-based like employment, and there was nobody willing to take me on at the time. So I did a night class, 3 nights a week, straight after work, 6 till 9, 3 nights a week. Literally, I'd get in from work, my wife would make me a sandwich, I'd have a bag at the door, and I'd be out to college. It was even before Josh was born. And I did that for 3 years, 3 nights a week. And then the stipulation was in my final year to get my NVQs and the City and Guilds, your portfolio. I needed to have full-time employment. And a friend of mine had quite a large electrical contractors business over in Teesside, and he took me on as like what he classed as like an adult learner. And I worked for him for a few years. During that time, I was doing quite a bit of weekend work, just to bump my wage up a little bit. And I was constantly saying, like everybody was saying, oh, we could give you work. And there was builders saying, well, why don't you go and get self-employed? Just one thing after another. Then I just thought, no, I'm going to give it a chance. I had that much work on a weekend. I can't cope with this. I'm not working 7 days a week for the rest of my life. So yeah, I went self-employed. I remember having one job that I started, a cottage that I'd started. I first fixed while I was employed, just as a friend, as a favour for a friend really. And I had that to second fix. I had no other work. Basically about 3-4 days work in front of me. Never advertised, and it just blew up. Just word of mouth. I'm lucky to we live in quite a small community, so everybody kind of knows everybody, and just word spread, and the rest is history. 2007, I went self-employed, and yeah, here we are today.
Okay, so what would be your advice then, Josh, for anyone thinking of, if say they've got a dad or relative or anyone like that offering to go and work with them to get into being an apprentice in the electrical industry?
I'd say do it. Do it and don't look back. I know people our age, young, are making better money at the minute, but just stay for the apprenticeship. Not many people our age are getting into construction, so there's going to be a gap in the market sooner or later, and people, they'll just put the prices up, and there'll be more money in that than most jobs. And I'd say if you want to start social media as well, do that, because it gets you out there more. You never know what can come from it as well. And I'm happy with how far I've came in so little time. So I think it's definitely worth getting into the trade. If you have a family member, or even if you can get in anywhere, just get into it. Yeah.
Talking to social media, we have got another episode we're going to be doing with yourself, Josh.
Right.
So our audience out there, please make sure you keep an eye out for that one. But both of you, I appreciate you coming down. You've come a long way to come and sit in our studio and talk to our audience about your relationship, your thoughts on the industry and everything. So I really appreciate you both coming down.
No problem,
Thank you.
Yeah. As always, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification button below. You can check out these guys on social media. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm Josh Electrical on Instagram and TikTok. Also, I'll be coming onto YouTube soon. And
I'm just plain old boring Mark Winter Electrical on Instagram. I'm nowhere near as interesting as this guy, so you probably want to check him out first.
All right then. As always, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.